Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 45 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Jacob Ayer in for Maya Trabulsi. The Navy's top admiral said this week sailors in its carrier force should plan on longer deployments. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer says the San Diego-based USS Theodore Roosevelt is up next.
The Chief of Naval Operations says the Roosevelt sailors and their families can expect a deployment longer than 7 months. According to USNI News, Admiral Daryl Cottle made the comments while discussing the Iran war's impact on the Navy's carrier force. The Roosevelt spent most of the summer at sea participating in the multinational Rim of the Pacific exercise. 3 weeks ago, the acting Navy Secretary told local military families the ship would be relieving another San Diego-based carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln's almost 9-month deployment has reportedly strained families and crew morale. Earlier this month, the Navy dispatched the Japan-based USS George Washington to take over for the Lincoln. According to USNI, the Roosevelt will replace the Washington. The Navy's maintained a carrier presence in the Middle East since launching the war against Iran in February. Cottle said there's no signs that commitment will end. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
KPBS is diving into the latest ICE arrest numbers in San Diego. Since a change in Department of Homeland Security leadership earlier this year, DHS has largely stopped high-profile raids in big cities. But that doesn't mean they're slowing down. Far from it. In his latest border report, reporter Gustavo Solis says arrests are spiking in San Diego and across the country.
ICE agents arrested almost 2,000 people in San Diego and Imperial counties this July, the most so far during Trump's second term. And that's just one takeaway from a new batch of ICE arrest data released by the Deportation Data Project. I'm Gustavo Solis, this is the Border Brief, and today we're going to break down that data. First, a few caveats. ICE sources data by Area of Responsibility, or AOR. The San Diego AOR includes both San Diego and Imperial counties, so we don't have a separate breakdown of arrest by county. And this data dump contains information through August, so all of the arrest data broken down by nationalities, age, and gender is from January 2025 through August 6th of this year. Now let's start with the monthly arrest data. Since January of last year, ICE has arrested almost 18,000 people in the region, and the numbers are growing. The nearly 2,000 arrests from July is a big jump from June, when they arrested 1,300 people. The new data show us what enforcement looked like under new DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. He started in March after President Trump removed Kristi Noem from the post. Noem favored a made-for-TV operation in which agents descended on cities like an occupying force. But she was ousted not long after federal agents killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy on the streets of Minneapolis in January. Mullen's approach is much more low profile, but as you can see from the data, the mass deportation machine remains in full gear. This data also tells us who ICE is targeting. Take a look at this 4-month span between April and July. Those red bars at the bottom represent the number of people with criminal convictions, and it holds steady over those 4 months. But the yellow bars, the ones who represent folks with no criminal record, doubled in the last month. That tells us that the growth of arrests here is on the backs of immigrants with no criminal convictions, people who are not the worst of the worst, which is the opposite of what the Trump administration keeps telling us. We also broke down the data by gender and age. As you can see, it is mostly men, and the main age group is between 20 and 40 years old. But take a look at the bottom of this graphic. ICE agents have arrested 340 children under the age of 15 since the beginning of the second Trump term. That includes more than 50 kids 4 and younger. And like with the overall numbers, the number of children arrested is also growing. I want to remind you once more that all of this data comes from the Deportation Data Project, which is a joint effort by UC Berkeley and UCLA. They compile data from dozens of public record requests and publish it on this website. It's available to anyone at no cost, so you can download it, sort it by geographic location, and find out what is going on in your backyard. Thank you for watching another episode of The Border Brief.
San Diego's Juvenile Justice Commission is facing a shaky future. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson says that's as abuse allegations against the county's juvenile institutions continue to pile up.
San Diego's Juvenile Justice Commission, or JJC, inspects the county's juvenile institutions and reviews reports of serious incidents there. State law requires the commission to exist. Until now, the Superior Court has provided the commission with administrative support, staffing, and liability insurance. Commissioner Nikhil Pletner-Booker read a letter from teens in City Heights on the courthouse steps Friday morning.
The people checking the system should not be the same people running the system. If something bad happens to us, we need someone safe to tell who does not work for the people we are complaining about.
The court argues it needs to separate from the JJC to maintain judicial neutrality. And it says the county is responsible for the commission's costs. But commissioners say they need independence from the county to hold it accountable. The support is due to end on September 29th. 9 of the 10 commissioners have said without liability insurance, they'll resign, effectively ending independent oversight of the county's juvenile institutions. Meanwhile, hundreds of plaintiffs are alleging misconduct and abuse in the county's juvenile halls and foster care facilities in pending lawsuits.
The recent allegations involving youth in custody remind us why independent oversight exists in the first place. This is the time to strengthen that oversight.
The county did not respond to KPBS's questions by deadline. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
Well, tonight we're going to stay warm out there. Patchy fog along the coast, but it's really about the warmth still for about one more day. We're going to get some improvements soon. Tonight we'll still be dropping only to 81 in Borrego Springs, a very warm setup. In the city, 73. It is a bit more humid than normal. Relative humidity much higher than we're typically facing this time of the year here. And you'll notice if you're out this weekend and you're near the coast, those waves are big. Be careful out there. Surfers and swimmers, beware. Details on that full forecast ahead.
The cross-border feud between the U.S. and Canada over trade hit a fever pitch this week. As tensions flare with the second-largest trading partner for the U.S., consumers and businesses on both sides stand to take hits. With neither country prepared to back down, Maddie Gannon reports more pain could be on the horizon.
Relations between the U.S. and Canada are growing frostier by the day.
We're going to be changing the name of Lake Ontario.
And for now, critical trade talks seem to be on ice.
I would say we don't have open channels right now.
Canada this week unveiled retaliatory tariffs set to take effect September 8th. The duties range from 15% to 50% and target over 700 goods imported from the U.S.
He is hurting both of our countries.
Among the U.S. exports hit with new tariffs: steel, aluminum, household appliances, construction materials, and more. While Canadian importers and consumers will bear that tax burden, the effects could still be felt in the American economy through decreased demand.
That could cost us factory jobs, and it could also potentially affect stock prices of companies that export things to Canada.
Under the new U.S. tariffs, American consumers will likely notice an uptick in prices on goods imported from Canada, like steel, lumber, milk, honey, alcohol, coats, and hockey sticks.
This trade war, and particular new U.S. tariffs that make things more expensive for Americans, that could really worsen the problem of rising cost of living.
Economists say consumers may make different choices at checkout, but some items can't be substituted. A tit-for-tat tariff fight over cars and auto parts, for example, could raise vehicle prices and threaten jobs on both sides of the U.S.-Canada border.
There's definitely a lot that we could lose when it comes to the car trade with Canada from here.
In Washington, I'm Maddie Gannon.
Meanwhile, President Trump is pausing tariffs on 300,000 tons of ground beef imports. He claims that will lower costs. That's running afoul with cattle ranchers who say it'll hurt their bottom line. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen talks to one local rancher about how the industry and consumers will be affected.
Raising cattle is hard work. Allison Fender is a third-generation cattle rancher at Flying F Ranch.
It stands for Fender.
Her days start early and end late.
Seems like always something's hitting the fan, but it's good work. It's good, honest work.
Which is why it feels like an attack when President Donald Trump signed a proclamation on Wednesday, pausing tariffs on certain ground beef products for 90 days.
Importing beef from foreign countries not only kind of undermines what we're doing as ranchers, and it kind of makes us feel that we are not doing enough, even though we're busting our butts every day.
Trump says he would consider ending the tariff pause if it didn't result in lower prices for consumers. But that kind of volatility makes it hard for ranchers to plan long term. It takes a while to raise cattle from calf to when they are ready to be butchered. Meanwhile, ranchers like Fender have other cost considerations.
The cost of living and cost of feed, cost of fuel, cost of vet bills, there's a lot that goes into it.
That's why today, Trump announced he will make it easier for ranchers to process their own meat. 4 firms with plants throughout the United States process 85% of the country's beef. Fender says it's not that easy.
Cattle is sold at auction, and then from auction it goes to a feedlot, and then from a feedlot it goes to a processor, and then from the processor it goes to the cut and wrap facility, and then from there it goes to the grocery store.
There are also strict safety requirements. That raises the question of how the president will implement his plan. Fender says maybe the government should look into the consolidation of meat processors. Many say that's why prices are increasing.
If we have more supply with processing facilities, we're able to get that American beef to consumers, which what our American consumers really want.
In Santa Isabel,
Good snacks.
Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Scientists in San Diego have been building robots that monitor the deep ocean. A branch of that global network specializes in tracking climate change and marine health. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says federal funding for that program is about to run out.
Underwater robot parts are everywhere in this Scripps Institution of Oceanography lab.
Hello. I have company.
Sarah Perkey is an oceanographer. And her team builds the robots from scratch here. When they're put together, they are about as tall as I am. They're called biogeochemical Argo floats. Taylor Worth is one of the engineers who builds them.
It has the biology, the geology, chemistry kind of wrapped up into one thing, and that's what these floats are kind of aimed to do, kind of a one-stop shop of measuring everything that we can possibly measure in the ocean.
He says they're like doctors checking the ocean's health.
Full health test, checkup, everything, and this is kind of the first time we've been able to get global snapshots.
About 500 of them are checking up on the world's oceans right now. Perky says the robotic floats are deployed by ships, and then they do their own thing.
They're just buoyancy driven, so it just has an external balloon that inflates and deflates that allows it to go up and down. It has a little bit of electronics, and then it has a bunch of D-cell batteries down there.
A float can live up to 5 years in the ocean. With their sensors, they can observe more than a mile below the surface. Every 10 days, they come back up and use their antennas to transmit data via satellites. The floats can measure oxygen, chlorophyll, and nutrients. They also measure carbon.
And that's going to help us understand how much residual carbon is left in the atmosphere. And we need to know that number in order to understand and predict how the Earth will continue to warm up.
Scientists around the world use data from floats to do their work, including Jennifer McWhorter at the University of Miami. Data from a float offered her a new perspective on a hurricane's effect on marine life.
We saw increases in oxygen, the use of nitrate. We measured lots of different things surrounding this event to show excitement at the base of the food web.
She says she's just starting to understand the impacts of extreme weather on ocean ecosystems.
We really need to keep those floats out there so we can continue to study these important changes for the ecosystem, for fisheries.
But Scripps researchers say the program is about to end.
We are screeching to a halt in October or November.
That's Lynn Talley. She's an oceanographer at Scripps. Her job is to identify remote areas of the ocean where floats can be deployed.
My goal was to make sure that each of those biomes had a float in it, and each ocean had one.
She says a $53 million federal grant expires this fall. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration had looked into adding the program to its ocean observing budget. But the Trump administration cut hundreds of millions of dollars from the agency's budget in 2025.
They just ripped into NOAA. There was no hope that NOAA at that point could be coming up with any more money for anything because they fired 10,000 people, including the people that we work with the most closely.
In a statement, NOAA said it's unable to support the program's future. By Scripps calculations, the program costs taxpayers around 10 cents a year each. It's relatively inexpensive compared to ships and satellites. But Perky says the cost of losing the program will be greater.
If we take away that network, and if we don't maintain it, you don't only lose the science, but you lose your ability to see what's coming.
And what's coming this year is the potential for a super El Nino. Without funding, scientists will lose one way to measure how extreme events like these are changing marine ecosystems. Hundreds of floats will stop collecting data as their batteries die. Tally remains optimistic.
This is our stopgap, is that other countries expand. The U.S. will clearly lose its position, but I don't care at this point. I want this observing system to survive.
Tally says Scripps is looking to Congress and philanthropic organizations to continue the program. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
KPBS science and technology reporter Carly Kay also reported this story. Sometime soon in Lakeside, you won't be able to walk the trail next to Lindo Lake along Lakeshore Drive. The County of San Diego will close down parts of the lake as it begins its latest phase of a revitalization project. It all stems from complaints about a foul smell coming from the area in 2018. Right now, Lindo Lake is primarily fed by stormwater. Our media partner KGTV spoke with Senior Park Project Manager Jennifer Spencer about the updates.
In 2019, we started phase 1, which restored the area around the East Basin. And now that we're complete with that phase, we're moving on to the West Basin. It will start with temporarily removing the water from the lake, and then we're going to regrade the bottom of that lake.
The project is supported by a $2 million grant from the San Diego River Conservancy and expected to be completed by winter 2027.
Well, the recent round of prolonged heat across the Southwest is almost behind us. Not fully over yet, but we're going to find some improvements. As we look at our headlines, the heat will begin to back off this weekend. We will be breezier, though, in this transition. So a little hint of cooling comes with stronger wind. That means a slight increase in fire danger. And also, with all this traffic in the East Pacific offshore, well to the southwest, we're talking about tropical systems, disturbances, tropical storms, and so forth. We're going to continue to see rough surf over the next several weeks here, really at least through the end of the month into next week. But the heat alerts, the extreme heat warnings, the heat advisories that have been with us for over a week, they end tonight at 8 p.m. Tonight, mainly cloudy, kind of humid out there, 73 degrees for the coast. We'll be in the low 80s into inland areas like Borrego Springs, and still hot weather holds tomorrow. Look at this, Ramona 101, 109 in Borrego Springs. It's going to be very hot out there. And, if we were to compare where we will be with records, we're going to be close to record highs in some spots overall. So we're still hot. There will be some relief up in Northern California. But here we are, August 29th's record highs. Our record high in San Diego is 88. So August 29th of 1896, August 29th of 2009, and 1 year ago on Saturday, we hit 88. We're going to be pretty close to that, 86. So not a record, but within a couple degrees. Then we're going to see a little bit more improvement. The heat begins to wane on Sunday as more of that onshore breeze picks up. But with the wind comes the fire danger. Inland areas, the canyons and the passes where it's going to be a little gustier, moderate to borderline high fire danger. It will be a little more comfortable for us on Monday. The monsoon moisture stays to the east, and even next week, the wildfire risk map doesn't change a whole lot. We're going to continue with moderate wildfire danger. And it's not just breezy over the mountains. We have a pretty stiff breeze offshore with a lot of rough surf given the East Pacific tropical activity down off to the west side of Mexico. And that's going to continue to bring a greater rip current danger to us. Temps 87 Saturday. Again, we had 86 in San Diego, but 87 for some coastal spots. Back down to 80 on Tuesday. It's a big change for us this time of the year. Inland areas, 98. Backing down to the mid-80s next week. It's a big improvement there. In the mountains here, we're going to go from the upper 70s to the mid-60s on our coolest day being Tuesday. And in the deserts from 109 Saturday. We're even a little hotter than that in Borrego Springs to the mid-90s the middle of next week. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
The Athenaeum Art Center is opening a new exhibit tomorrow called S. Whiteley Listening Materials. It's an exhibit that asks you to pay attention to sound. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando spoke to the artist as they were setting up the unique sound installation.
S. Whiteley is an artist, but instead of using paint or clay, their chosen medium is sound.
I just think there's so much to explore with utilizing sound in a gallery context. Think of this piece very much as a work of sound art, where the sound is almost like a vibrational sculpture.
Listening Materials is an immersive sound installation where audience members, listeners, can walk through a space and experience a 20-minute sound piece in which objects are placed on multiple exposed speaker cones arranged throughout the gallery. I step up to one speaker and peer in. As I watch rocks bounce around, I have an epiphany. I'm seeing one sound create another.
Yes, exactly. So there's kind of two sounds happening. There's the sounds of the sine tones, these basic frequencies that the speakers are sounding. And then there's the contact that the rocks or the ping pong balls have with the speaker membrane that is creating a second sound.
Whiteley also wants to make sound that you can see.
So it creates this very interesting, almost sonic visualization. We're also seeing what the sound is doing.
In contrast to the ping pong balls, tiny rocks in a small speaker almost sound like insects to me. Whiteley's creative process involved not only experimenting with different objects, but also different sounds.
There were certain pitches that I had to set the frequencies to in order to find the sweet spot of this is where the material really dances and sings.
Come listen to the art of S. Whiteley at the Athenaeum Art Center. It may change the way you perceive the world. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
KPBS is The Finest released its 50th podcast episode this week. It features our live event at this month's San Diego Book Festival. One place to find it is thefinestsd.org. It's a brand new site that expands on the podcast. It's your guide to the arts, culture, outdoors, food, and events that make San Diego, San Diego. Find out what's happening by date or by neighborhood. There's a lot to explore. Again, the site is thefinestsd.org. Last week, a person dressed as Darth Vader went viral for comments about flock cameras at a San Diego City Council meeting. This week, he returned, took off the mask, and explained why he did it.
There is nothing that is uniting the right and the left faster than our disdain for this Orwellian surveillance technology. That's abundantly clear by the fact that I could wear this costume once and it could go globally viral. That should demonstrate to all of you who couldn't read the room when the vast majority of your constituents were opposed to flock, that the world is against flock.
His real name is Anthony Ralphs, and he's become a regular at San Diego City Council and other local agencies' meetings, often advocating for limits on surveillance technology. The pushback to flock cameras is part of the wider discussion around artificial intelligence and how it's becoming more of a factor in everyday life. Our public media partner KQED in the Bay Area talked with Lorena Gonzalez, president of the California Federation of Labor Unions, about what that means. Here's some of that discussion from the latest episode of the Political Breakdown podcast.
it's been growing, and it's not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. It really is bipartisan. Now, that's not reflected necessarily in a lot of the votes that are taken in the legislature, but we know from polling that it is absolutely bipartisan. People do not want AI to take their job. They don't want AI to de-skill them. They don't want the boss to surveil them with AI. And quite frankly, there fewer and fewer people are buying into this idea that there's any good with AI beyond making like a meme or a poster, doing advanced Google searches,
I mean, it's no secret that this governor is looking at a presidential run.
Mm-hmm.
How is his posturing on AI going to affect how labor, thinks about his candidacy? Like, you guys had some pretty strong words at the beginning of this year about that. And I think, sort of warned that this is a red line.
It's a red line. We brought out labor leaders from across the nation to be clear that this is an issue. You're not going to be able to just get out of California and not talk about it. My colleagues in every state, but especially those early primary states like Nevada and South Carolina, New Hampshire, Iowa, they're very engaged on what is going on here. They may be a year or two behind us, but they're watching and they want actually advice on how to get this through. In fact, I was just at the Iowa State Fed convention, and they were basically asking, how do we do some of these bills? So we know as Governor Newsom goes across the nation, he's going to be asked by labor leaders in every single state, hey, what'd you do on AI? And they already know. We're very clear. We've been telling everybody. The AFL-CIO, Liz Schuler, the president of the AFL-CIO, came out and said the same thing. And it doesn't matter if you're Gavin Newsom or Donald Trump. We're going to expect that you put guardrails around AI, that you promote workers over AI, and that you have some realistic expectations.
Once again, that's from KQED's Political Breakdown podcast. Be sure to join us tonight for KPBS News This Week, where we revisit the most impactful and intriguing original reporting of the week. This week airs every Friday at 8:30 here on KPBS. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jacob Ayer. Have a wonderful evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 45 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.